Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Uninterrupted. I'm your host, Chris Hammonds, and with me today is our COO, John Faust. John, say hello.
How's it going, everybody?
All right, guys, we're going to do something a little bit differently today. So we are going to do a rapid-fire question and answer response. So what we've taken is the top 25 questions asked about cybersecurity, and we're going to give you quick answers, the answers you want to hear as quickly as possible. And if you want to dive more into our responses, you can do so in our other videos or check out our blogs. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to put 12 minutes on the clock. And John here, under the pressure, has 12 minutes to answer 25 rapid-fire questions about cybersecurity. Are you ready, John?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do this. And can we get a timer on the clock? All right, here we go. And go. What is cybersecurity, and why does my business need it?
So cybersecurity is really the protection of your data. It's the protection of your operations. It's the things that a hacker is trying to do to stop your system from running and potentially get the money out of it. So it's different than IT. It's there to keep your business running.
Gotcha. And number two, are small businesses really targeted by hackers?
Oh yeah, we see this all the time. Small businesses are a huge target because the large organizations protected their house. And so what happens, the hackers looked at the almost 50% of the US GDP that was small, medium business and said they're not doing anything. So SMBs became a huge part on the hackers' radar, and it really became a thing of, you're not too small to get hacked, you're too small to make the news.
Gotcha, great answer. Now, how do cyber attacks usually start?
Oh, so really these days, they start with email. That's generally the first part of the chain. We've talked about this in several videos, but somebody will have their email taken over, either due to a business email compromise for a third party that they're dealing with. So somebody that you interact with heavily will have their email taken over, and then they'll use that to gain access to your email or eventually sometimes access to your computers. The other thing that really leads to it is credential reuse. We see this all the time where you reused a password on a password that has now gotten hacked, and now they have your email password or your computer password, so they don't have to search for it. And then others are vulnerabilities with systems that you have in your network. Say your firewall has a vulnerability due to a unpatched VPN, and that's the way to get in. So those are your three biggest initial access vectors right now are email compromise, credential reuse, and vulnerabilities of critical systems.
Gotcha. And number four, what are the biggest cybersecurity threats right now?
Oh man, business email compromise is the big one. We saw it go from about once a quarter in the beginning of 2024 to now at the beginning of 2026. It's once a week we're seeing somebody get their email compromised. We're getting a lot of calls from people outside of our organization and the companies that we work with that they found out that there was a business email compromise after one of the bad things happened, and generally some form of financial loss that'll happen from that or fraud that'll happen. And so it's really, that's your biggest threat vector right now. And there's a myriad of things that go around protecting it. And we've dived a lot deeper in other videos, but it's really, you've got to protect that email.
Gotcha, that brings me to my next question. Number five, how much does cybersecurity actually cost?
Well, I can tell you this, it's less than the cost of downtime and going through a hacking incident.
Right.
But realistically, it depends on what you're trying to protect and how granular and how fast you need to respond and recover to a situation, what your sensitivity of data, what your operations look like. So there's a lot that goes into it. But I mean, you should really be spending at least 1% to 10% of your business's yearly revenue on cybersecurity.
Gotcha. And number six, what's the difference between antivirus and cybersecurity?
Oh, okay. Antivirus is a tool, and cybersecurity is an entire mentality around how your business operates, how your business functions, and what the security of that data is. So antivirus is just a small piece that goes on the puzzle. That's one of the small tool sets that we use to help secure a company. And cybersecurity is the entire mentality, the entire strategy, everything behind what you're actually doing to protect your organization.
Gotcha. Okay, moving right along. Number seven, what is ransomware and how exactly does it work?
Yeah, so ransomware is one of the three bad things that we talk about. What it'll be is, it literally is what it sounds like. Somebody will either steal your data or they will lock down your systems, and then they will ask you for a ransom in order to release that information. So when they steal your data, they either will not say publicly that they're going to release it, they won't sell it on the dark web, they won't do those sorts of things. So it's a way for them to gain money. It's how the hack is actually monetized. And then other ransomware that a lot of people traditionally think about is they lock your computer and you say, hey, everything's encrypted. They're doing that so they bring your operations to a standstill, so your company can no longer function to make money, and then you think, okay, paying tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars is a good way to make it so my company functions again.
And how likely is that to happen for a bit? How likely is it that a business is going to get hit by ransomware?
I mean, we see it a lot. We've seen it over the last few years with companies who have called us, who weren't our clients, who called us and they were just doing a spam filter, a firewall, and an EDR sterile antivirus. Those companies who have called us after they went through the beginnings of a cyber incident, they never found out that somebody was in their system. And then it moved all the way to full-blown ransomware where their systems were locked down, data was exfiltrated, and the hackers asked for money. And so if you're not doing the things to properly protect yourself, one bad click from one of your users can go all the way to that sort of thing. And when we talk about stopping the 3 bad things from happening, that's what we're talking about, how to detect that early enough to prevent it from getting to really one of the worst scenarios that you can go through is ransomware.
Yeah, basically, if you're on the internet, you're on a hacker's radar.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you're a button click away from that event happening.
Now, if we're attacked, can our data be recovered?
Depends. How good are your backups? How air-gapped are your backups? How immutable are your backups, which means they can't be changed? Do you have redundancies of systems? Have you made it so the hackers can't get to the critical systems? If they get access to, say, the front desk person's computer, did that person have access to everything, including the financial records? How's your data segmented? How are all those sorts of things? And so it depends on the scope of the incident, but from there, it really has a ton to do with your backups, and can you make sure that a hacker hasn't had access to the backups and stopped them?
Absolutely, and make sure you're testing your backups.
There's an old mantra that we say, if you don't test your backup, you don't have a backup.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, should a business ever pay a ransom? Are there certain circumstances where they should pay a ransom?
So obviously we are going to say you should never pay a ransom, but I'm not sitting in the driver's seat of your organization. I don't have all the blood, sweat, and tears that you spent with years of building this up as a business owner. Your family's lives are tied to it. All of your employees' lives are tied to this organization continuing and functioning. And sometimes we've seen cases where paying a ransom is the right thing to do. There's a lot that goes into that. You'll want to talk to incident response. You'll want to talk to your cyber insurance. You'll want to talk with actual negotiators, hostage-style negotiators that deal with this. And you'll want to talk with legal to make sure that you're even allowed to do so. But in some cases, paying a ransom is the right thing to do. But that is a business decision that you will have to make, and hopefully you never get in that position. And everybody I've seen have to do it. I think it's taken years off their life, but yeah, it could be the right move for you.
Yeah, speaking of years, how long would it actually take to recover from a cyber attack? I know it's different, but like how long, if you were to estimate?
So one company that called us out of the blue after they've been hacked, it was about 3 months before the ransomware decoder key actually worked, and the things that they were trying to unencrypt were able to get unencrypted. They had lost 14 months of data, so they were trying to get access to that old data. So it was a long time before the decryptor worked, but that company said that they had a productivity loss. They didn't get back to fully operational for at least 9 months after the attack happened. So they were down for a full week with no computers at all. They were in limp mode for months, rebuilding access to data, rebuilding all these systems. And so it's devastating. It pulls the emergency brake on your company. It rips the parachute like a drag car coming to a stop really quickly. And everything changes with your organization when that happens. So you don't want to go through it.
Oh, gotcha. And we talked about backups. What happens if our backups are also compromised? We've seen that too here recently.
Yeah. You know, if your backups are compromised, you're basically screwed, right? You have only an option to pay a ransom. Hopefully your decryptor key works and all those sorts of things. Backups are really critical. They've been critical for decades. This isn't anything new. It took making backups that were good for a perspective of just operational downtime of, say, hey, your building burns down or you have a fire in the server room or things like that. You want to be able to recover and get your employees back to work. And now that changed to how do we make it so that a hacker can't do a devastating thing to that backup, and then making sure that they don't do something weird like change the encryption key on the backup as it happens so your backup looks like it works, but then you can't actually open it up and see what's in it. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, now this could be all over the place, but what are the most important cybersecurity basics every business should have?
You know, you really need to work with a company that knows cybersecurity. Right. That's probably the easiest way to do these basics. It's hard to do cybersecurity correctly, but if you work with an organization like ours, we can really help you streamline that process and get it done. So I'm going to say that's the basic. It's just work with a company like ours. But from there, you want to have some form of cloud detection response, looking at your your Office 365 or Google Workspaces environment. You ideally want a security operations center that's looking at those logs, that's looking for indicators of compromise. On your systems, you want application allow listing. You want EDR antivirus with a security operations center. You want a SIM that gathers all the logs and looks for anomalous behavior. You want firewalls. You want
MFA.
MFA.
Yeah.
I mean,
email security.
Encryption of your drives as they sit there, so somebody can't just steal one of your computers and then get the data. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's changing all the time. And so really the easy button for you is working with a company like ours that can streamline this process for you.
Gotcha. And a lot of people ask too, is antivirus enough to protect a company?
No. I mean, we could stop there, but every company that I've seen that's had full encryption, they had antivirus running on their computers and it was on all the systems. The hackers spin up their version of whatever AV you're using and figure out how to bypass it. They figure out how to turn it off. If you just have antivirus running on your network, the hacker gets on, they're going to be like, okay, cool, I don't care, and they're going to bypass it and go about their business.
Gotcha. Now, how have phishing emails changed to where they're actually fooling people now?
AI has changed the game, right? So it has to do with there's no longer spelling mistakes, grammatical issues, like they speak perfect English. They speak perfect English in the region that you're in because they'll train it on Midwestern dialect. People that you interact with will get their email taken over, and then they will take their reply to a sent message that you already have, an email chain you already have going. They will put their sent messages into a generative AI for hackers and write a message that sounds exactly like it's that person. And so it's becoming a much more sophisticated. It's not just about stopping things before somebody clicks on a bad link or a bad email attachment. You can't verify everything that you do. You still want to be careful, but how do I identify then afterwards that a bad thing's happened and then respond and recover from that situation? And
they're also targeting things that you're interested in. If you're posting that you just went to a Dave Matthews Band concert,
right.
Well, you might get an offer for Dave Matthews tickets.
Yeah.
So something to be mindful of.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now, how often should we update or patch our systems?
Systems should be patched very regularly. So you'll want to have them ideally patched at least weekly. A lot of times it ends up happening daily. That's a thing that a lot of people don't think about a ton anymore because our RMM tools, remote monitoring management tools, handles the patching for us. And then we have different things that are looking to say, hey, verify that these patches are working, doing those things. Windows patching will work, Google patching will work, but if they break, then you don't have anything that's looking at the systems to see. But you want to apply the patches pretty much immediately. They're for security reasons.
Gotcha. And what passwords or MFA rules should we be using?
So longer passwords are better. Obviously, password complexity is a thing. We'll go through certain things that have to do with that. MFA, you don't want to be reusing passwords. So that's a big thing. Then that turns into a single form of authentication while you're just using your MFA if something happens. But, passwords are a very critical thing, and you want to make sure that they're as unique as possible, but in a way that you can remember. And we have a whole video in sequence of how to do passwords.
Great. And we hit our 12 minutes. We were so close. We almost got all 25 questions in there. We got to number 21, but we are still going to go ahead and finish up here while we have you guys. Can one employee really cause a major incident?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, you are at any moment, depending on what your cyber resilience is and your robustness of your organization, you are one button click away at all times from an absolutely devastating start to an event for your company. And so that's all it takes is one employee who gets tricked or whatever, that if you're not looking for the right things down the line to then stop that unauthorized access from turning into one of the bad things, you're in for a really rough time.
Yeah, I mean, with human error, it's going to happen. Now, what happens when it does happen? What happens when they do click?
Well, if you have the right proper cybersecurity in place, then it should alert some logs that some things are going on, right? The hackers have a hard time hiding from the logs on the back end. So if you're looking at those correctly and analyzing those correctly, you'll start to notice unusual behavior and nefarious behavior. We call those indicators of compromise. And you really want to focus in with a laser on those IOCs and then say, okay, something weird's going on here. And then you work with the end user closely and say, hey, are you doing this? Is this a potential threat actor in your system? And then that's called the response. And then how do you recover from that situation?
And as an end user, report it. Report it. As soon as you might even think that you maybe clicked on something that was malicious, report it to your IT team as immediately as possible.
And even if it's not malicious, even if you don't think it's malicious, that email attachment not doing what you expected it to do, that can be a red flag in and of itself. It might not have done what you expected, but it might have done exactly what the hacker wanted it. And so that's a big piece as well, is just sometimes reporting things that feel weird that you would normally have, like, just, whatever, something weird happened. That might be a sign that something actually bad's happened on your network.
And we're on 24 here. We got 2 questions left, guys. Do we need our own full-time IT/security team? When do I need to start hiring my own team?
So it depends on what your company does and how much they rely on computers and how they use them. I would say that normally, unless you're a pretty large organization, you wouldn't want to hire an in-house cybersecurity team or in-house IT team. It would be better to work with a company like ours and outsource it to us. We have very good economies of scale that happen. We have very good ways to say, hey, this is how we look at multiple things at once. But even us, we don't do everything in-house ourselves. We outsource things like our security operations center. I don't have enough staff to be able to effectively house and run a security operations center correctly that's 24/7, 365, that has redundancy, that has all those types of items. So we outsource those services to other people. And so even within our industry, even there's things that we do that we rely on our partners to help us accomplish these goals. And it's more saying, hey, what size do I need to hire somebody? That's not exactly the right question. It's, what do I need to do to have effective cybersecurity so that my business outcomes are met and I don't go through one of these 3 bad things?
Gotcha. And the last question, now this one we could probably talk about for hours on end, but...
we can talk about all these
yeah,
hours
right,
on
exactly.
end, but yeah.
And so the last big question that people want to know is, what does a managed service provider actually do?
Yeah. So we think about an MSP, managed service provider, like this. Whenever somebody gives us the trust to do their network, I think of it as if we are their IT department. As if we are a whole team of IT people that they have that work at their organization that are looking to do the business outcomes that they need. And that could be, hey, we provide good systems, we provide good support, we make sure that things are on a hardware rotation schedule, but we also do the cybersecurity that's needed to make it so that, I like to think of it as a cat coming and knocking your expensive vase off the table. We make it so that that is very unlikely to happen. And when you work with a company like ours or any MSP that's doing their job correctly, they become a partnership with you that really looks at what your business goals are, looks at what you're trying to achieve, and says, hey, we can make this easy for you. And so our companies that work with us, they don't think about what it takes to bring on 5 new employees. They say, hey, we're bringing on 5 new employees, and we make that happen, and they can just think about what they need to do from a business growth perspective and know that the IT and cybersecurity is going to hum along nicely, and they're able to think about their business and say, hey, I want to do this, and Forbes makes it happen.
Absolutely, great answer. And as an MSP, we're not looking to control your technology by any means either, right?
No, like it's your company, right? So I will give you suggestions. There are certain things that if you're trying to do that's too insecurely, we might not even work together, because I might say, hey, we're not a good fit with what the cyber thing is for the companies. But the companies that work with us, they've been with us for decades. They become better organizations from them working with us. We become a better organization from working with them. It goes in both ways. I've learned things from my customers. They've learned things from me. And it really is a symbiotic relationship, and we take a lot of pride in helping people, and we really do help these organizations.
Gotcha. Thanks, Sean. And guys, if we didn't answer one of your questions today, if one of your questions was not in our top 25, please comment. Please comment your question, and we will respond in our next video.
Yeah, and if you want to dive deeper into one of these topics, let us know as well. We can do deep dives into any of these sorts of things.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Uninterrupted, a podcast from Forbes Cybersecurity. We hope you walked away with practical insights to protect your business and stay ahead of the latest cyber threats. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your colleagues. For more tips, resources, and cybersecurity updates, visit Forbes.com, that's 4bis.com, and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. We'll be back soon with another episode, so stay vigilant and stay uninterrupted.